Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Joyce Kim, the Executive Director of Stellar.org, and we are a not-for-profit organization that is building public infrastructure for financial transactions. And what that really means is we're building open technology tools that make all of you in the room interoperable with each other, which I know sounds like a big challenge, but that's what we work on. So I wanted to start off today by talking about a project that was featured in the Gates Foundation's annual letter. And for those of you that don't know, the Gates Foundation publishes an annual letter where they lay out their top 5 priorities for the year. And this year, mobile banking for the poor came in at number 3. And in this letter, they talked about a project called the Kenyan Financial Diaries. So what the Kenyan Financial Diaries does is they basically surveyed 300 low-income Kenyan families for about a year and a half to get a sense of their day-to-day transactions. And as expected, 95% of these families, entire households, lived on under $5 a day, which is 2 to 3 pounds. And when we talk about the unbanked, we think about things like this, that they're largely communities that have very little money. We have ideas that they're quite heavy with debt. But as this study kind of found, when you dig deeper into the facts, it sheds light on some important details that we all need to think about as we build products for the unbanked and as we think about go-to-market strategies in frontier markets. So what I wanted to do today was highlight 5 facts that I think are particularly important for everybody here in this room. So the first fact is that, on average, these households had 10 different sources of income: agriculture, temporary work, small business, resources from friends and from families. And what this meant was this diverse patchwork of income meant that spending and earning was constantly volatile. And what you'll see is this volatility becomes a reoccurring theme in everything that we'll talk about on this next panel. The second fact is that, on average, these families used 14 different financial services, and that's quite a lot. It would be mobile money, credit at a local store, informal rotating savings accounts. But what's important to note is that this meant that these families were not passive about their financial lives. They were actually active money managers. So fact 3 is that, unlike the common belief that these communities are quite stuck in debt, they're actually asset-heavy, not debt-heavy. Study participants were serious savers. How serious? On average, men had 31 days of income in saving systems. And women surpassed that with 42 days of daily earnings in savings systems. People generally wanted to know that their money was working for them and not sitting idly. Now, this fourth fact is also quite interesting. 91% of participants saved via informal systems. So what this means is actually that they are rotating lending pools amongst their community members. It means that social networks actually do matter. And most participants didn't trust banks, or they didn't believe they had enough money to put into a bank account. And when they kind of dug in to find out why did community members prefer their informal saving systems over banks, it was largely because they believed that their neighbors would be more compassionate in times of volatility. So if somebody had to be late with a payment, chances are their neighbor would understand. And that was one of the leading reasons for why they preferred to go with these informal systems. They needed elasticity to combat the volatility. And all that accumulates into this fact number 5. When short-term liquidity was missing, despite having, on average, more than a month of savings in the bank, or not in the bank, in their other savings accounts, people would forego health care. They would pull a child out of school, or they would not eat to deal with this short-term lack of financing. So if you could imagine a situation where you had 1 month of your earnings in a savings system, but you could not access it, so you had to pull your son or daughter out of school. This is the current condition that we're talking about. And then when you look at what's a liquid asset and what's not a liquid asset, survey participants generally only identified 4 assets that they believed to be liquid. And I don't know what you guys thought it was. I would think it would be mobile money. Turned out I was wrong. It's poultry, sheep, goats, and livestock, but not cows. So cows are not liquid. So why is this important? This is actually quite critically important because of the last fact that I just covered. People are skipping healthcare and education for their children and food because they cannot access money that they already have saved in illiquid saving systems. So regardless of whether you're the kind of person that thinks with your heart and you think that this is a human condition issue that needs to be solved, or you're a person that thinks with your head and you think, hey, we need efficient economies that can create healthier and smarter and stronger workforces, no matter how you cut it, when you have people who are foregoing food and healthcare and education, it ends up in a worse world for all of us. So we're about to start a conversation about banking the unbanked, but the real goal actually lies beyond financial services. The facts that I just showed you, they tell us a very different story. They don't tell us a story about people who are sitting idly by in debt, not knowing what to do. It tells a story of billions of people who are actually working quite hard to make their own lives better. They are saving. They are self-insuring. They are investing, but the tools that they have are actually just not good enough. So the real challenge is giving people tools that increase efficiency, that increase liquidity for the money that they already have. And this is actually the story of economy. This is the story of humanity. If you give us better tools, we will all do better for ourselves. So as we talk about banking the unbanked, I want us to think about it as offering financial services as a way of starting this chain reaction that helps us fight poverty and healthcare worldwide. So let's start talking about starting this chain reaction.
Joyce, thank you very much.
Okay.